Welcome, my bountiful friends. It's time to pick up your spear, grab your cloak and lantern, because today we're going to be delving deep into what it means to patrol the nighttime streets of Ankh-Morpork in Terry Pratchett's Guards. This story centres on a ragtag bunch of social misfits as their routine is disturbed by the sudden appearance of a fire-breathing dragon. As usual, I'll be diving deep into the psychological shadows, and as always, there will be as many spoilers as there are scorched bodies. And there will also be plenty of opinions too, so you have been warned. And before we begin in earnest, don't forget to like and subscribe. It's greatly appreciated. Terry Pratchett's Guards marked a pivotal evolution in the Discworld series, both creatively and commercially. It was published in 1989 by Gallant, and it was the 8th Discworld novel and the first to introduce the Ankh-Morpork City Watch, and this was the initial entry in a series of books focused on that theme and cast of characters. Prior to this, Discworld leaned heavily on parody and high-concept satire, but Guards brought a more grounded, character-driven narrative, centred on Captain Samuel Vimes and his ragtag team of misfits. This shift allowed Pratchett to explore themes of justice, identity, and institutional decay with a sharper, more socially resonant edge. The novel's development was primarily influenced by Pratchett's desire to satirise the tropes of heroic fantasy and police procedurals. Upon its release, the novel sold moderately well, and it benefited from the growing popularity of the Discworld series, which had begun to attract a dedicated fan base. The book's humour, tighter plotting, and more relatable characters helped it stand out, and it quickly became a fan favourite. The novel contributed significantly to the upward trajectory of Discworld's commercial success in the early 1990s. It was also one of the first Discworld books to be adapted into other media, including a BBC4 Radio 4 dramatisation in 1992 and a stage play by Stephen Briggs in 1993, both of which helped boost its visibility and sales. Sales saw renewed peaks during all major Discworld anniversaries and reissues, particularly with the release of the illustrated editions and the graphic novel adaptation in 2000. It remains one of the most consistently reprinted titles in the series, often recommended as a starting point for new readers due to its accessible plot and strong character arcs. Captain Samuel Vimes is the main protagonist. He's the cynical, world-weary leader of the Night Watch. He starts the novel as a disillusioned drunk, but gradually rediscovers his sense of justice and purpose. He's the moral core of the story, embodying reluctant heroism and institutional reform. Carrot Iron Founderson is a human who has been raised by dwarves. He joins the Watch as an eager new recruit. He's earnest, literal, and deeply committed to the law. His idealism and integrity begin to transform the Watch and inspire those around him. He may also be the rightful heir to the throne, though this is never fully explored in the novel. Sergeant Fred Colon is a veteran member of the Watch. He's lazy, cautious, and resistant to change. He provides comic relief but also reflects the inertia of broken institutions. Despite his flaws, he's loyal and occasionally insightful. Corporal Nobby Nobbs is a scruffy, morally flexible watchman who may or may not be human. Nobby is known for his petty thievery and unquestionable hygiene. He's a source of humour and absurdity, often skirting the edge of legality. Lady Sybil Ramkin is a wealthy aristocrat and breeder of swamp dragons. Despite her social status, she's practical, brave and deeply compassionate. She becomes a key ally to the Watch and a romantic interest for Vimes. The librarian was once human but is now an orangutan, and the librarian of the Unseen University. He is a quiet but powerful presence. He is deeply protective of books and plays a key role in recovering the stolen magic tome. Lord Havelock Vetinari is the patrician of Ankh-Morpork. He is a master manipulator who maintains order through calculated chaos. He's enigmatic, ruthlessly pragmatic, and always several steps ahead of everyone else. Lupine Wands is the patrician's secretary and the novel's primary antagonist. In his role as the Supreme Grand Master of the Ebon Knight, a secret society, he utilises its power to summon a dragon in a plot to seize power. His downfall comes through his own hubris and underestimation of the Watch. Errol is a small malformed swamp dragon gifted to the Watch. Though unimpressive at first, Errol undergoes a surprising transformation and becomes instrumental in defeating the summoned dragon. The summoned dragon is a noble dragon brought forth by the secret society. It quickly asserts its dominance and demands sacrifices and the crown itself. It is initially presented as being male but is ultimately revealed to be female. Her battle with Errol is a courtship ritual rather than a fight to the death. Set in the sprawling, chaotic capital city of Ankh-Morpork, Guards follows the transformation of the Night Watch from a disreputable, apathetic group into a force of reluctant heroism. The story begins with the city under the rule of the cunning patrician, Lord Vetinari, who maintains order through a delicate balance of guilds and controlled chaos. The Night Watch, comprising of the perpetually drunk Captain Vimes and the slovenly Sergeant Colon and the dubious Corporal Nobby Nobbs, are an open joke amongst the citizenry and are more a ceremonial necessity than functional law enforcement. The plot kicks off with a secret society known as the Elucidated Brethren of the Ebon Knight, led by the patrician's secretary Lupine Wands, who is the group's supreme Grand Master. He hatches a plan to overthrow Vetinari. They summon a noble dragon, long thought extinct, using a stolen magical book from the Unseen University. Their goal is to terrorise the city, then present a false hero to slay the beast and install him as a puppet king under their control. Carrot is a human who has been raised by dwarves, and he joins the Watch as a new recruit. He is earnest, literal, and believes wholeheartedly in the rule of law. His arrival begins to shake up the Watch's cynical routine. He arrests people for crimes no one has enforced for years, and his unwavering idealism slowly rekindles a sense of duty in Vimes. As the dragon wreaks havoc, the Watch begins to investigate its origins. They enlist the help of Lady Sybil Ramkin, a wealthy and formidable dragon breeder who specialises in swamp dragons, which are small, unstable creatures prone to spontaneous combustion. A relationship begins to form between Lady Ramkin and Vimes, and she gives him a peculiar dragon named Errol. The Brethren's plans backfire spectacularly when the summoned dragon kills their foe hero and crowns itself king, demanding monthly sacrifices of noble maidens. Lady Sybil is chosen as the first victim. Vimes, now sober and galvanised by Carrot's influence, escapes imprisonment and races to save her. Meanwhile, the Watch attempts a 1,000,000-to-1 heroic shot to kill the dragon, which fails in classic Discworld fashion. In a climatic aerial battle, Errol, having mutated into a powerful jet-propelled creature, defeats the dragon in what turns out to be a courtship ritual. The dragon is then revealed to be female and is spared at Sybil's request. Carrot arrests it, symbolically restoring order through law rather than violence. Vimes confronts Wands, who tries to summon yet another dragon. Carrot, taking Vimes' command to throw the book at him literally, hurls a massive legal tome at Wands, causing his death. The patrician is then reinstated, and the watch is offered any reward that it desires. Vimes enters into a relationship with Lady Sybil, and the watch, once a laughingstock, emerges as a legitimate force for justice. The novel is a layered blend of absurdist humour, noir parody, and satirical fantasy into a richly textured narrative. The novel's style carries Pratchett's unmistakable signature. It's witty, irreverent, and densely packed with wordplay, cultural references, and philosophical undercurrents. It's written in third-person omniscient, which allows him to flip between perspectives with ease, often using this flexibility to juxtapose the lofty ambitions of villains with the mundane thoughts of city dwellers or the weary cynicism of Captain Vimes. The prose is brisk and conversational, often breaking the fourth wall or indulging in footnotes that spiral into tangents that are more entertaining than the main text itself. These footnotes are a signature device. They're used to expand the world, deliver punchlines, or mock literary conventions. Pratchett's sentences are rarely ornamental. Instead, they're functional and funny, designed to keep the reader amused while subtly deepening the thematic resonance. His style is deceptively simple. Beneath the jokes lies a sharp critique of power, bureaucracy, and human nature. Atmospherically, Guards evokes a city teetering between chaos and order. Ankh-Morpork is a character in itself. It's grimy, sprawling, and absurdly alive. It's a metropolis that blends Dickensian and Tolkien-esque tones and filters them through Monty Python and Raymond Chandler lenses. The streets are filled with trolls, dwarfs, and guild-sanctioned criminals, and it's steeped in grime and corruption, yet never bleak. Pratchett's humour prevents it from being in any way dystopian, and there are liberal lashings of comic relief and moments of genuine warmth. Despite this humour, the atmosphere occasionally dips into the profound. Lord Vetinari's monologues on governance and evil introduces moments of philosophical gravity. These tonal shifts are handled with finesse, never derailing the comic rhythm but adding depth to the satire. The city's transformation from apathetic decay to tentative hope mirrors the Watcher's evolution and lends the novel a sense of narrative momentum. In essence, Guards is a stylistic balancing act, part parody, part social commentary, and part character-driven drama. Its atmosphere is chaotic but coherent, comedic yet contemplative, a reflection of Pratchett's unique ability to make fantasy feel both ridiculous and real. The novel is much more than a comic fantasy. It's a layered exploration of power, justice, identity, and institutional decay. Beneath its humorous facade lies a sharp critique of societal structures and the human condition, delivered through the lens of a dysfunctional city and its equally dysfunctional police force. The first main theme is power and corruption. At the heart of the novel is a study of power. Who holds it, how it's wielded, and how easily it can be abused. The secret society that summons the dragon seeks to manipulate public fear to install a puppet king, illustrating how authoritarianism often masquerades as salvation. Lord Vetinari, the patrician, represents a more cynical but effective form of governance. He understands that controlling chaos is more sustainable than eliminating it. Through these contrasting figures, Pratchett critiques both idealistic and manipulative approaches to leadership. Justice and law. The transformation of the Night Watch from apathetic bystanders to active defenders of the city underscores the theme of justice. Carrot's literal interpretation of the law, arresting people for littering or improper signage, initially seems absurd, but it forces the Watch to confront their own moral inertia. Captain Vime's journey is one of rediscovering integrity in a system that has long abandoned it. Pratchett suggests that justice isn't about grand gestures, but about everyday accountability, even in a city where the law is routinely ignored. Identity and belonging. Carrot's character embodies the theme of identity. He was raised by dwarves, but clearly human. He navigates questions of cultural belonging and personal purpose. His unwavering belief in the law and his role in the Watch challenges the norms of Ankh-Morpork, where identity is often fluid or performative. Similarly, Vime's identity as a failed officer is slowly reconstructed through action and reflection, showing that personal redemption is possible even in the most corrupt environments. Institutional decay and reform. The Watch itself is a metaphor for broken institutions. Once a respected force, it has become a joke. Through Carrot's idealism and Vime's reluctant leadership, the Watch begins to reform, not through sweeping changes, but rather through small acts of courage and consistency. Pratchett implies that institutions can be salvaged if individuals within them choose to act with integrity. Upon its release in 1989, the novel was met with enthusiasm from readers and critics alike, though its full impact would only become clear in retrospect. As the 8th entry in the Discworld series, it marked a tonal and structural shift, moving from broad parody towards more character-driven satire. Critics noticed this evolution, with many praising Pratchett's ability to balance humour with deep philosophical themes. Over time, it has become to be regarded as one of the most accessible entry points into the Discworld series. NPR described it as a solid entryway, especially for those new to Pratchett's world. Its blend of mystery, satire and fantasy made it appealing to a broader audience than some of the earlier, more overtly parodic Discworld novels. The introduction of the City Watch, particularly Captain Vimes and Carrot, was widely celebrated, with many critics and fans considering them among Pratchett's most enduring and beloved characters. The novel's legacy is substantial. It laid the foundation of the City Watch sub-series, which includes Men-at-Arms, Feet of Clay, Jingo and Night Watch, among others. These books are often cited as the most socially and politically inclusive and incisive within the Discworld canon. Guards also helped solidify Ankh-Morpork as a fully realised setting, rich with internal logic, cultural nuance and satirical depth. Adaptations further cemented its status. The book was dramatised as a 6-part BBC Radio 4 serial in 1992, and it featured a strong cast including John Wood as Vimes. It was also adapted into multiple stage plays, both amateur and professional, and a graphic novel illustrated by Graham Higgins in 2000. These adaptations introduced the story to new audiences and demonstrated its versatility across media. And in 2003, it was voted the 69th best and UK's most favourite novel in the BBC's Big Read poll. Guards is often read as a satirical fantasy romp, which of course it is, but beneath the surface, Pratchett's narrative architecture is anything but frivolous. The plot, where a secret society summons a dragon to terrorise the city, only to then defeat it and install a puppet king, mirrors the classic false flag formula of manufacture a crisis, then offer a pre-packaged solution that consolidates power and erodes liberty. It's a well-established Machiavellian strategy that is eerily resonant with post 9/11 geopolitical dynamics that we now live with, where there seems to be no controls or bounces as to what limitations governments can impose on the average citizen, and where an insidious future state of complete biometric and AI control is now looming over us all. Prior to becoming a full-time best-selling author, Pratchett spent almost 15 years as a journalist. He then left journalism to accept a position as a press officer for the Central Electricity Generating Board, which oversees the British nuclear industry. His background as a journalist and as a press officer, particularly during the height of nuclear anxieties, likely gave him first-hand exposure to institutional obfuscation, spin tactics, and the machinery of public manipulation. That kind of proximity to power, especially in a sector as tightly controlled and symbolically potent as nuclear energy, would have sharpened his understanding of how narratives are sculpted to serve agendas. There's a telling line in Guards that reads, "If there was anything that depressed him more than his own cynicism, it was that quite often it still wasn't as cynical as real life." This line is a confession of how deeply Pratchett understood the machinery of deception. There are clear symbolic pointers in Guards. The dragon is a manufactured existential threat that is used to justify authoritarian control. The Supreme Grand Master is a shadowy manipulator who weaponizes fear to install a regime that appears to protect but actually dominates. And the populace willingly trade their freedom for safety, which hauntingly echoes the post 9/11 climate of surveillance, compliance, and curtailed civil liberties, not to mention over 20 years of largely clandestine military operations across the globe. It's long been recognised that people with significant platforms who speak out openly against their governments are often silenced one way or another. There's an old English proverb that goes, "There's many a truth said in jest," and the medium of humour often serves as a vehicle for uncomfortable or subversive truths. It is one particular form of protest and criticism that often manages to escape censure, as it has the ability to cloak itself with ambiguity. Its hidden truths are often not so obvious to the average person that the authorities feel compelled to do something. Pratchett's genius lies in embedding his powerful observations and critiques within the trappings of absurdity and humour, making them palatable but potent. He doesn't preach, he parodies, and in doing so, he often reveals deeper truths than more serious literature dares to touch. So, what are your thoughts on this tale of misfits, plots and dragons? Which character did you like the most, and which scene did you find the most profound? Once more, don't forget to like, subscribe and hit that bell icon for more deep dives into the world of literature. Until next time, keep reading, and remember, if you find yourself at a loose end and at a loss at what to do, then maybe you should join the Night's Watch and patrol the streets of Ankh-Morpork. Don't do anything I wouldn't do, and if you do, don't get caught. You may go.